Before we start today's show, we just wanted to take a moment and give a huge thank you to the podcast sponsor, StreamYard. With StreamYard, you can stream directly from your browser, create a broadcast, show comments on screen, and see all of your comments in one place. With StreamYard, you can record HD video and audio. You can even go live with pre-recorded videos. Save, rewatch, and download past broadcasts. You can invite guests to your broadcast from any device. StreamYard makes it easy to run interviews, talk shows, podcasts, and so much more. You can simply get started with your own by heading on over to StreamYard.com. Now, without further ado, brought to you by Mindful Media Productions, you are now tuned into my favorite podcast, The Archives with Adam. Here is your host and my grandson, Adam.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Archives with Adam. I am digging down in the archives today for this one. Today's guest is a voice actor. He is a radio personality, even an ordained minister. Please welcome the man, the badass, the legendary voice behind the most kick-ass video game character. And I'm even saying that over Master Chief. I'm sorry, Halo fans. But today I have Jon St. John coming on the show.
Well, Adam, let me just start by saying power armors for pussies. Pass that along to Master Chief. Master Chief. That's because he masturbates all the time. He's a jerk off. Hey, you told me I could say whatever I want.
Yes, sir. I was not expecting that, but I'm cool with it, man. I love it. We're here to have a great time, some good laughs.
Yes.
If you don't recognize that voice, that is the voice behind Duke Nukem, the legendary character.
Not to mention Big the Cat.
Big the Cat, too. Big the Cat from Sonic Heroes, I believe.
Yeah, and Sonic Adventures, you betcha.
Yep, there you go. So, John,
sure.
Tell us how you got your background, in the voice acting community.
Oh, man, it goes way back. Are you ready for this? Ready for mind blown? My voice acting actually started in 1975. Don't do a spit take now. I was a baby DJ. At 14 years old, I got a radio job in North Carolina back when I was a teenager. And that's really where it started, because I had to start developing different voices and such for production, for commercials and that kind of thing. And over my 45 plus year career as a radio broadcaster, I went from either being a morning show where I did character voices for my show and for other morning shows, to afternoon drive, to being a commercial production director for radio stations and an imaging director for radio stations, which meant I had to develop as many different voice styles and reads that I could, so that you didn't hear my voice back to back to back to back in commercial breaks on these stations where I was the production director. So 45 years of radio was a really good vehicle to get me into voice acting. And I took drama classes when I was young in school, and that's where some of the acting chops came from. So really, it was all about radio getting me ready for voice acting the day that I got that first call to do a video game audition.
Okay. Did you play any video games growing up? Anything like that? What was your childhood like?
Oh, hell yes. For me, video games as a kid were in an arcade, because they were all arcade games. The only thing we could play at home for video game was Pong when I was a kid. But I loved Defender and Tempest and Joust and Asteroids, those kind of games. I played those like crazy at a little place called Putter's Palace, which was an indoor mini golf and video game arcade in North Carolina. But later on, after Nintendo came out and everybody played Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt and all of that, I bought myself a TurboGrafx 16. I don't know if you remember that particular game platform. Loved it. Played so many games on it. Legendary Axe was my favorite. And so I played video games like that up until Duke Nukem came out. And then I became a fan instantly of the first-person shooter, because I just thought the game was so fun and funny at the same time. And I wanted to hear what I sounded like in a video game. Imagine my disappointment when I heard 8-bit audio of my voice.
No, I remember playing it on N64, and I mean, I was I'm 33 now, so you could imagine at that time I'm probably like 7 or 8 playing that
Uh-huh.
game, and man, just hearing all the lines, and even nowadays, I'm 100% honest with you when I tell you this. I tell people all the time, Duke Nukem is like one of my favorite video games. So that's why, doing this episode, it's an honor to have you on.
Hail to
And
the
as you can
king,
see,
baby.
yeah, and as you can see, that's the you were telling me a replica, a bust of the one that came with Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah, the original one is you can see him sitting on that speaker in the background. See how tiny he is. So somebody at it's either in Sacramento or Albuquerque. One of my last 2 appearances, 3D printed this big boy for me. So I'm considering painting it and
There you
having
go.
it sit here in my studio, here where I do most of my my work, just so I can look at Duke every day while I'm working.
There you go. So you spent some time here in Seattle. I'm actually 20 minutes outside of Seattle, but you spent some time doing some voice acting here in Seattle. Was that for Duke Nukem?
Oh no, that was for Valve. I think
Or
Valve
Valve?
is based
Okay.
up there, and they had me do a few projects where. Here was the beauty of doing being an early voice actor in video games. Right, I was like one of the very first voice actors. Is that um, the guys who were playing the games back then in the mid '90s grew up to become developers and worked for companies like Valve. And so what would happen is, since they were fanboys, rather than have me book a studio in Los Angeles or here in Southern California, they'd fly me up to Seattle, knowing that, if we got recorded soon enough, we could go out and drink together. And I think that was probably a lot of the motivation. Let's go take John out for tequila shots. Yeah, that's always a good idea.
I had most recently Kenny James on. Are you familiar with the name?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and he told me about some time where because he lived here in Washington, and how he did some recording out here as well. And that's kind of when he got his gig.
Mhm.
But how was your experience here? Did you just come out and just do the voice over for it was probably Half Life, right?
Let's see, what was I recording then? Yeah, I believe it was. I believe it was Half-Life, and what was the other thing we did? Gosh, I can hardly remember now. It's been so
It's
long.
been a while.
Yeah, there were a few other games back in the day that they flew me up for.
Oh, okay. Did you get to go around town, do anything fun? Like, what
Oh
was
yeah,
anything that
yeah,
stuck out to
and I
you?
gotta say, mass transit in Seattle is pretty cool. I actually hopped on a bus once.
Okay,
No, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like Seattle. It's very pretty, very green. The weather was lovely when I was there. It was sunny and nice, and it's been a few years, but my experiences in Seattle have been very pleasant.
perfect, perfect. Now, I decided to ask. We do also have a gaming expo out here, so hopefully, the folks over at Washington State SummerCon could bring you on out and get you on that bill. It's they have a gaming expo portion of their summer convention.
Mhm.
It's like the Washington State Gaming Expo. So we'll
Oh,
see. We'll see. Hopefully they.
I'd be way up for that, man. Drop my name. Tell them I want to come up to Seattle.
Oh, once I drop this episode, I'm definitely tagging them in it, and yeah, we'll have to let them know because we need Duke Nukem in person.
Yeah, everybody needs a little Duke, baby.
So you've also done some other voice acting. So I mean, I know people talk to you all the time about Duke Nukem, but I kind of wanted to mix it up a little bit for you. You spent some time even doing some NASCAR games. NASCAR racing
That's right.
2003, 2002.
Sure.
Um, so that was actually after Duke Nukem. How hard was it for you to not get into like your Duke Nukem voiceover, character on that? Was it a little bit different for you? Was there any
Oh no,
challenges?
I do a lot of voices. Duke Nukem is just one of many.
Okay.
But I took on that kind of a Southern NASCAR thing. I grew up in North Carolina, so I can talk like they do there. Y'all know what I mean. So I was like the pit crew chief or whatever. What was my? I
Fodder.
was the announcer during the
Yeah.
race. NASCAR 4, I think it was. And then I was in another one of the NASCAR games after that as a pit crew chief. And no, I talk like this, like they do. You got to keep a real calm, cool demeanor, like no inflection to your voice, and just sound like you're from North Carolina and you know what it means to run moonshine.
There you go. There you
Right.
go.
Mhm.
Um, how did you get into character? Like, was it something again like you drew from your inner self from being in that, like North Carolina region? Did you envision what you wanted it to sound like, or did they even tell you, "Hey, this is what we wanted to"?
Well, it always comes down to the audition. So I auditioned along with a lot of other people, and they just felt my voice was best suited for it. And that's usually how it happens. I mean, there are instances where I I'm completely in the dark. There's one in particular I think you might enjoy. Lonnie Manella, who cast me in the Duke Nukem 3D game originally, cast me in a bunch of games back in the day. But this one time back in, gosh, what was it, 1998 or 99? She called me and said, "Hey, John, we're going to be recording this game this Saturday down in San Diego. We need you to come down and record." I went, "Okay, fine. Send me the sides and whatever artwork." And she said, "Well, we'll worry about who you're going to be once you get here." Right. So I get down to the studio in a place called Kearney Mesa, Lightning, I think was the name of the studio. And a fella I know, Ryan Drummond, was in the booth recording. I went, "Wait a minute. What is he doing?" And I listened carefully. He was doing Sonic the Hedgehog lines. I'm like, "Oh, cool. I'm going to be in Sonic the Hedgehog." And then Lonnie comes out of the booth. She goes, "Hey, so glad you can make it today." And she holds up a picture. Oh, let's see. This isn't actually Big the Cat. That's fan art, but isn't it cute? So she holds up this picture of Big the Cat for me. And I went, "What the hell is that?" She said, "That's Big the Cat." And I went, "Yes, he is that." She goes, "He's also kind of a dumb character, kind of slow." And I went, "Oh, that's why you picked me?" She said, "Exactly. If anybody can do a dumb voice, you can do it." So they get me in the studio, and there's a Japanese director from Tokyo, I believe, in my headphone, and I can't understand what they're saying, but Lonnie and the translator are talking to them, and Lonnie goes, "Okay, your mic is hot, John, so just do a dumb voice real quick. We'll get your microphone set up." But, "Okay, where's my froggy? I can't find him. This is about as dumb as I can sound." And I hear something Japanese in my headphones, and Lonnie goes, "Okay, that's the one." And I went, "What?" She goes, "They like that voice. That's the one." I said, "Why? No, let me do something. Come on, I can do something different." She goes, "No, they like that. That's Big the Cat." And so that dumb voice I did will haunt me forever as the voice of Big the Cat. But you know what? Fans seem to just love Big the Cat unconditionally for some reason. They don't mind the dumb, slow voice at all. So while I didn't like it very much, the fans seem to have embraced it. So now I just accept it. But sometimes you don't even know what the part is or what the voice is going to be before you're cast. And that was a prime example of that.
There you go. There you go. You've also even played some other, other characters. I mean, you've done NFL Extreme, Twisted Metal 4,
Did you
America's
know all
Army.
the voices in Twisted Metal 4?
There's a lot. There's a lot that you've done.
But I'm the whole cast. I'm Rob Zombie and General Warthog and Mr. Jones and the Sweet Tooth Spokes Clown. I'm the whole cast, except for Lonnie Manella, who I mentioned a minute ago, is the female character in that game.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Wow.
And that doesn't happen much these days,
No.
But back in the 90s, when there were so few video game voice actors, it was not too uncommon for someone like me to get all of the roles in a game, like the Candyland game. Remember the board game Hasbro had, Candyland? Well, when they made the CD-ROM, I'm the entire cast. I'm King Candy and Lord Licorice and Jolly and Gloppy. And the only character I didn't play was little Cookie Boy. And again, Lonnie Manella. She was the voice of the Cookie Guy.
Oh wow, that's insane. Do you have a copy of that? Do you own a copy of it?
I do. I still have a copy of that game. I'll never get rid of it. I don't think I can play it anymore, but I have it. I keep a copy of every game that I've been in.
Okay. And you've been in America's Army, and then also Counter-Strike Go, just to name a couple. I mean, the list goes on. How was the experiences with those? I mean, NFL Extreme. I'm a football guy, so that's one of the other kind of
same here. Go Chiefs tomorrow.
Yes.
Go
Chiefs tomorrow for sure. They definitely need to win it.
But
so
one recording session, Adam, is pretty much like another. It's funny. I've been asked this question at conventions many times. Like, what was it like recording for Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition? Well, there was a microphone, and I was in a room like this, and there are 5 guys on the other side of the glass, giving me instructions, and I'm reading a script in whatever particular voice they want. One recording session, to be honest with you, is pretty much like another.
All the same.
The last time I had a really cool recording session had to be back in, I'm going to say 1988 or 1998 or 99, when I was at a studio in San Diego with all of the Sonic the Hedgehog voice actors in the booth all at the same time, recording our lines and bouncing off of each other, something that doesn't happen these days.
Wow.
And God, that was so exciting and so much fun. I wish it could be done like that today, but it's much better to record one voice at a time, because scheduling, noises, if somebody else is recording a line and I sneeze or a scratch and it gets picked up by the mic, you've ruined the take,
Yeah.
and so it is always better to record one voice at a time and then bring them together. But it's not as fun as recording with a group of actors.
I bet. I bet that way you got all the personalities, and it just really makes you say, "Hey, maybe I could tweak this a little bit better and bring a little
Yeah.
bit more life out of it." Right?
There's an energy that's created by it, and to me, that, because I'm an attention whore, in case you didn't know that, to me, that energy was created by, like, showing off in front of the other voice actors, like, "Oh, I can do my lines better than you can." It's that kind of thing, and we inspire each other, and that made it very exciting, and I think just a better project altogether, because we were recording all together.
There you go.
Mhm.
So I do want to dig into some Duke Nukem. So when George Broussard gave you the lines that you got, um, like what was going through your mind during the time of reading that? Like, did you already envision what you wanted to sound like? Did they tell you, "Hey, we want you to sound like this humorous guy"?
Well, initially, for the voice itself, the day of the audition, Lonnie and I were in a studio in San Diego at the radio station where I was production director. And George Broussard called in from, I think he was in Plano, Tech, or Garland, Texas at the time. And so Lonnie introduces me to George. He had hired her to cast the game. And she said, "So George, tell John, what is your idea for this badass character, Duke Nukem?" And of course, the first time I heard Duke Nukem, I laughed. I think everybody does the first time you ever heard it. You go, "What? Duke Nukem?" And George's, as I recall, idea was he wanted a badass character akin to something like Charles Bronson, because Charles Bronson was like an action hero that George liked and grew up with. And I went, "Oh, Charles Bronson, yeah, I can do a Charles Bronson kind of read." And Lonnie goes, "No, that is not this guy." Lonnie actually said to me, "Think of Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry." And I went, "Oh, uh, so you got to ask yourself, do you feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?" And George went, "I like the attitude and that tonality you're using, but keep in mind, Duke Nukem is a huge, roided out dude, and he's muscular and ballsy." And I went, "Oh, well, I'll just lower it an octave." And I went, "You got to ask yourself, do you feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?" And right there, George went, "Oh, that's the voice." He knew the second I went down an octave in my Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry read, that was what he wanted, and the voice stuck from there. And to this day, it's still the easiest voice I do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Just hearing that, and I still buy the game. So like when they like re-release it, like the most recent one I think was Nintendo Switch. I still went out and bought it
Oh,
on the Play Store. So I hope you get paid for that, like royalties and stuff. Because
right.
yeah, no, I'll still go buy them and I'll still play them. Like Duke Nukem Forever. Yeah, I think that was so fun the way they made it where it was like interactive, right?
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and just all the lines. I mean, I had so much fun playing that game too. And unfortunately, the success on it wasn't there, right? But it still
Yeah,
would have been cool.
unfortunately, the critics panned it. They didn't care for it at all, and I think the reason for that is the critics at the time were 20 something uh, gamers, uh, enthusiasts, I should say, who didn't understand that this game had been completed in 1999 and sat on the shelf for years because Broussard was unable to complete the project due to lack of funding or whatever. I don't. Maybe he was just too busy with other things and put it on a back shelf until Gearbox Software came along, and they bought it up and decided they were going to crank it out, add a couple of little extra flares here and there, and put the game out in, what was it, 2011. So everybody expected it to have a new game engine and be a la Call of Duty, for instance, and it was still the old Doom engine from way back when. And I think that disappointed them, that and the bunch of frickin' pussies out there who were so pissed off because they couldn't carry more than 2 weapons at a time. Come on. Really,
Yeah.
realistically, you're going to carry more than 2 weapons at a time? No, they didn't like that they couldn't have every weapon at their disposal, and so that pissed off some of the critics as well.
That was the reason. That was the reason behind it all.
Pretty much, yeah. That and
Oh my
the older
goodness.
game engine, they wanted it to look like a new video game in 2011, and it was an old video game that's, like I said, sat on the shelf for 12 or 14 years, however long it was.
See, and you could go back to 2011 and play some of those older games, and it'll still look like Duke Nukem, right? Duke Nukem Forever. That's
Mhm.
the crazy part about it all.
Yeah. You know, the best Duke has ever looked, I don't know if you've played, the Bulletstorm full clip edition where you
Mhm.
can take out
Yeah.
Steve Bloom's character Grayson and put Duke Nukem in, but that's the best Duke Nukem has ever looked, and I've been praying that they would someday please make a new Duke Nukem game where he can look badass like that,
Yeah.
you know, and sound badass because my voice would be recorded in high quality instead of that 8-bit crap. But you know, there's as far as I know, no plans whatsoever to make another Duke Nukem game at all. Gearbox is too busy with Borderlands and I don't know what else. But as far as the rumors about, I don't know if you were going to bring up the movie or not.
I was going to talk to you about that. Yeah, yeah.
There is actually, I've seen a script. I can't tell you anything about it, but I
Yeah.
can tell you that the guys who are doing Cobra Kai supposedly are going to be the producers for the Duke Nukem movie. And
Wow.
I have no idea who they would cast in it. I still, in my perfect world, Adam, what would happen is they would make a CG Duke Nukem movie. That way,
Yes.
the character would look exactly the way he's supposed to look. Anything could happen, you know, in CG world, absolutely anything could be made to happen. When you're combining live action and CG, sometimes it's, you know, it's okay. I mean, like I love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, for instance, the Marvel movies, but you can tell when there's CG inserted in with live action.
Yeah.
It's getting better all the time, but it's still not perfect. But if you did a Duke Nukem movie and make it R-rated, okay, an R-rated freaking CG film, well, two things happen: a great movie that looks the way it's supposed to, and I'm the star.
There you go.
And I
Yeah,
love
no,
my
and you're
only hope
right.
right now with the live action movie is if they make it, maybe they'll give me a cameo appearance. Maybe I could be the you know, the Stan Lee cameo type where I'm I don't know, the DJ in the strip club or something. You know, that would be cool.
Hey, or even you could be at like the Balls of Steel machine playing or something, right?
There you go. Yeah, yeah. That would be
Um,
cool.
who would you like to see cast if they did go realistically with a human person? I know
Mm.
at one point they were talking John Cena. I love John Cena, but he doesn't have to be in every movie like The
He's
Rock.
aged out of it already, and not only that, John Cena shifted over to I don't know, how do I describe it, a G-rated kids films that, you know, so he's not that badass Duke Nukem anymore. I mean, as Peacemaker he was fun and silly, but even John Cena has now aged out of that. So I think what they're going to have to do if they do live action is find an unknown who looks great. And perhaps if he can't sound great, they can just have me do ADR and replace all of the dialogue. And I'd be fine with that too. I want any part in the film I can get, darn it. Because if I can't
It's
get
you.
another Duke Nukem video game made, at least let me have a part in the movie, right?
Exactly.
I feel like I've been
Exactly.
left behind, you know, left to die. I feel like Duke has been left to die
Oh,
because
we need another game.
yeah, and of course, Gearbox was bought by Embracer Group, and now I hear Embracer Group is having so much trouble financially, or I don't know if they're bankrupt, but I think they over leveraged themselves, and now they're having trouble. So the whole Duke Nukem
Okay.
world is just falling apart, and that just breaks my heart because
Yeah.
I know what a great character Duke Nukem is based on the fact that there hasn't been a Duke Nukem game in over a decade, and yet I'm still appearing at conventions all the time.
As Duke. So yeah, my girlfriend, she's 28 years old, and I had introduced her to Duke Nukem. She's like, "You were playing this as a kid? Your parents you play this game as a kid?"
Right.
I'm like, "We played it together. That's the great part about it, you know."
Mhm.
Um,
Did you
it's
play with
just
your dad?
yes, and my brother. So
Very cool.
everybody heard about this episode happening, and I'm like, just wait for it. This is nostalgia. It's just, man, It's crazy. So
Yeah, yeah. And again, like I said, Duke Nukem such a powerful, memorable character. Even though all of his lines were ripped off, it's still fun to think about the energy Duke Nukem brought to the video game world back when. And I think that is why I keep getting invited to conventions. People still love the King, baby.
without a doubt. So how did you feel when you first heard that voice? Like we touched on it a little bit, but you heard the 8-bit stuff and whatnot.
Hmm.
Like what was just going through your mind knowing, hey, I'm in a video game, and then it just like it blew up and became an overnight success.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't know it was a success. I mean, I was in the radio broadcast industry, and that was my job day to day, was doing radio stuff and promotions and that kind of thing. And my oldest brother and I, we would play. He was in Virginia, and I was here in Southern California, and we would play Duke match games through the dial-up modem.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Anytime call waiting would go off, the game is knocked off. We had to start again 15 minutes later. But uh, I did not know all those years that my brother and I were playing, 2 or 3 years that we were playing the game online for fun. We played that in Shadow Warrior together. I did not know that anybody else even knew that Duke Nukem was a game or anybody was playing it. So apparently, it was very popular, and I didn't know until I think it was in the year 2000 when I got my first invitation to a convention. Somebody had found me on Facebook and said, I don't know if this is the way to reach you or not, but are you Jon St. John, who's the voice of Duke Nukem? And I responded, yes, I am. They said, we'd love to have you at our convention in Texas. And I said, oh, to do what? Why do you want me to come to your convention? They said, well, sign autographs and meet fans. And I went, what fans? They said, dude, Duke Nukem has 1 million fans. Didn't you know that? And I went, no, but I'll do your convention. And then I went out to Texas and I did that first convention, and everybody treated me like a celebrity, and I didn't know what to think of it. I was like blown away. Um, and then one after another, I got convention invitations to all the major cities in the country over the next year or two. And I've been around the world, appearing as the voice of Duke Nukem in Australia and England. And I can't wait to go back to Europe again to do that. But the thing is, I didn't know it was a hit for the longest time. I was recording other Duke Nukem games and did not know anybody was even playing them until I started, looking on the internet to see what was going on. And I turns out I had a Wikipedia page and I didn't know it. Like, wow, these people think I was born in Virginia. They're wrong. I don't know where this information come from, but they have a lot of games listed that I am in. And it was a new world opened up to me at that time. It was very interesting.
When getting into voice acting, did you ever think it was going to become like this for you? Like, what were you thinking when giving it a try?
Wow, I had no idea at all. I was just having fun doing voices because along with doing video games, I was doing voices for theme park attractions. Like here where I live, there's Legoland, California. And I've been a voice of many of the attractions at that park since, gosh, I guess 1997 or 98. And then Dollywood in Tennessee approached me to do some character voices, and I was on some stuff in Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, Virginia. So I'd been doing voices for different projects and, radio and TV commercials for many, many, many years. So I was busy just recording all kinds of projects and these different Duke Nukem games, but still not knowing that there was a big fan base out there. I just thought, oh, okay, well, these games must be selling okay, or we wouldn't be making more, right? That's kind of how it went.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
So I know this is a question you probably get asked all the time. Do you have any favorite lines? And
Oh,
if
God,
so, why?
here's a little factoid you might not have known about Duke Nukem Forever. The lines in that game were written by 2 women. And yes, and my favorite one, they asked me not to mention their names. My favorite one from Duke Nukem Forever was, I had eggs for breakfast. Your mom had sausage.
Okay.
But the fans, they always love Hail to the King, baby. And your face, your ass, what's the difference? But I think the favorite is come get some. Everybody likes that line for some reason. And Hail to the King, baby.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Like when you load up in the game, you could choose like difficulty that you want to play, and you hear the "Hail to the King, baby" every time.
Right.
It's classic. My girlfriend's like, "Why do you keep saying that?" I'm like, you don't get it. You don't get it."
It's
It's
iconic, honey. It's iconic.
it is. It is
Yeah.
without a doubt. And you can't really say that nowadays about characters. There's not really anybody that stands out. I think the most recent again would be Steve Downes, Master Chief, and
Mhm.
I mean, there's just nobody else out there
I
that's
think it's just because there's so many. There are so many
oh,
characters now. It's hard to single out a particular one,
yeah,
right? I mean, back in the day when I was doing all these games back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was the original voice of King Varian Wrynn in World of Warcraft.
oh,
Nobody
wow,
knows that. You don't see my credit in the game anymore because there have been many King Varian Wrynns since then. I don't know. I don't know why they had to recast so much, but then again, look at Sonic the Hedgehog games. They recast every single time Sega has a new something. With Sonic the Hedgehog, they recast it. Even in film, it looks like they keep recasting, except, of course, for Jim Carrey, who'll be in every movie they make.
yeah.
Yeah.
What was your favorite out of all the games? I mean, because there's Duke Nukem, Duke Nukem Forever. You even were in Bulletstorm, as you mentioned, but there's even some of those PC games of Duke
Oh, yeah,
Nukem
Land
that
of the
were out
Babes.
there.
Oh, the PC games, yeah. But
Yeah,
they're Land of the Babes and
Land of the
Manhattan
Babes. Yeah,
Project and gosh, what was the tropical one? I forget the name of it now. It's been that long. Um, they were all great games. I enjoyed all of the ones I played. I didn't play all of the games. Um, I think if I had to name a favorite, it would be still Duke Nukem Forever because I just loved how raunchy and inappropriate a lot of it was, and telling
right.
that king, that kid in the hallway, signing the "Why I'm So Great" book. I better not find this on eBay, kid. I mean, there was some funny stuff, and
Yeah,
I really enjoyed those lines. Oh, by the way, you remember from the original Duke 3D that a lot of those Hollywood lines were ripped off from Roddy Piper and Bruce
yes,
Campbell, right? Hail to the
yes,
king, baby! I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum, right? What I did not know was in the Duke Nukem Forever game. There's a line where he defeats the boss in the first level and says, "I'll rip out your eyeball and piss on your brain." Right? That
yeah,
was
yeah.
stolen from a movie too, and I didn't know it
Oh
until
wow,
last month. In fact, I had a friend
wow.
staying here from Michigan who was visiting, and we were watching old movies. And I said, "Have you ever seen Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy?" He goes, "No." I said, "Oh, you got to see it. It's funny. It's very funny." So I put the movie on, and three-quarters of the way into the film, the bad guy in the movie, his character name I think was Clarence Beeks. He he's following behind Al Franken and Tom Davis as they're going to this gorilla cage on this train, and he says to somebody, "I'll rip your eyeball out and piss on your brain." I went, "Oh my god,
That's
mind
my
blown!"
line.
Another line stolen from another movie. I had no idea.
Gotcha,
There's trivia
man.
for
When I go back and watch that movie, I'll be like, dang, that's
you. Yeah.
it. So how would you say the voice? So you've been doing voice acting for a while. Even before Duke Nukem, you were doing things, for like the amusement parks and stuff like that. How would you say Duke Nukem affected or even helped out your voice acting career?
Oh my God, it was pivotal. I mean, had it not been for Duke Nukem, I can't imagine having gotten many other video game roles. Like I said, the developers who grew up fanboys of Duke, they loved to work with me and would call me all the time and said, "We got to find a place to put him." But there was a while there, early 2000s, where I was pigeonholed, and a lot of directors said, "Oh, he's the voice of Duke Nukem. That's not the voice type we want." I'm like, "Dude, I do a lot of voices. Duke Nukem is one of them. Give me a chance, will you?" And some of them did, and they found out, yeah, I can do a lot of different voices. Um, but yeah, definitely Duke Nukem opened the doors to so much more for me, especially convention appearances. Once the gaming community and the convention community learned that I really enjoy meeting fans, I really love going to conventions, and I embrace the culture. That's when I started getting a lot more attention. And so, yeah, that's all due to Duke Nukem's popularity.
Are there any funny or memorable moments like with any recording sessions that you did?
There was one that actually made a bit of a splash on social media years ago. where Lonnie and I were in the studio in San Diego recording. And she likes to set up scenes for me before I record, and I wish she hadn't. In this particular case, she said, "Now, John, in this next scene, you're going to come into this room and you're going to find the captain's log." And she goes, "And I'm not talking about a log in the toilet." And I could not clear that out of my mind, the turd in the toilet kind of thing. So I came in, I'm coming in to do the line, and went, "Oh, the captain's log." And I could not record it without laughing. I couldn't get that thought out of my brain. And so that particular session stands out to this day because it got so much notoriety online when people heard me not able to say the line without laughing until I paused and went, "Okay, dead babies, dead babies, dead babies, dead babies. Okay, I can do it." And then I did the line without laughing.
Gotcha. Yeah, that'd be pretty hard to do as well.
As far as other memorable experiences, the other one would be doing Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition. And the reason I mention that is, one recording session is like another, as I've mentioned. But at that time, Gearbox Software treated me like family, like a king. They flew me first class out to Dallas for a week to record, where we just record 2-3 hours a day in their really nice studios in Plano or Frisco, Texas, I think it was. And then we'd go out and do karaoke and drink. And I had steak dinners and a 5-star hotel and a limo from the hotel to their studio every day. I mean, they treated me so well. I've never had an experience quite like that recording a video game. And it was absolutely delightful. So that's a memory that'll last forever.
There you go. No, that sounds like a great time. I mean,
Yeah.
you're doing something for them. They're treating you right. So,
Mm-hmm.
were there any memorable moments that you had at any conventions with fans that stuck out? Like any gifts, things like that? I mean, you already showed off the bus that you had, but is there anything like with the conventions and stuff with fans?
Oh, yeah. I get a lot of fan art when I go to conventions of both Big the Cat and Duke Nukem and Axe from Dota 2. Fans love those characters. So I get a lot of fan art all the time. But as far as memorable moments from conventions, I would say probably one of my favorites goes back to a convention I was doing in the Detroit area years ago, where I thought it was so kind of them, the con staff, to bring in a masseuse. So for the guests who had to fly in, oftentimes I'm one of those people who my back does not like sitting in an airplane for hours on end, and I get lower back pain from it. So it was delightful to know that I could schedule a massage. So I went to schedule my massage, and they had nothing open except the time of my panel on a Saturday. So I thought to myself, which is my favorite way, wait a minute, what if I use this? And so here's what I did. I asked the masseuse to please bring the massage table to the panel room where I was appearing. And so halfway through the panel, I said, "Here's a film I want you all to watch. It's about the work I've done on SpongeBob SquarePants. Have a look at this." So I put on this 5-minute video, and I go out in the back hall, take off all my clothes except for my bathrobe and my skivvies, right? And I come back into my bathrobe, and fans are looking at me going, "What the hell?" And I said, "Amanda, come on, set up." And she sets up this massage table. I said, "Now it's time for the Q&A part of my panel." But I was having trouble trying to schedule my massage during the weekend here. So I'm going to get it right now if you guys don't mind. So here I am down on a massage table with an assistant sitting on the floor holding a microphone up at me, and attendees who had questions had to come up and lie down on the floor and look up at me, and they'd interview me and ask my questions while I was getting a massage. So giving some of the answers was a bit tricky because they'd hit me in a certain spot. But that was a very memorable moment, and I think all the fans remember that for a long time. And since that day, I've been doing a lot of stunting at conventions over the years. So I created different panels that actually become some of the most popular panels at conventions. I do what's called Jon St. John's Sexy Naughty Late Night Party, which is sex trivia and then sexual challenges for prizes. And that has gone over very big. In fact, so well that one convention in particular, it's called Kineticon in Hartford, Connecticut. Every July, they've inked me in to sign up to show up every year and do my Sexy Naughty Party exclusively at their convention. I can no longer do it anywhere else, only in Hartford. because they were smart enough to realize, oh, this is a very adult panel, and we want a more adult crowd. So they set up 2 bars in the giant panel room. So we have people lined up for alcohol, and then sex trivia games with the physical challenge, things like the vibrator races and bobbing for dildos, those kind of games. The usual. And
Yeah.
that went over very, very well, and that's still a very popular event, very memorable. This July in Hartford, Connecticut, I can't tell you what it is, but I have another brand new, never before done panel coming up that's going to make people absolutely crazy and do a great public service at the same time. If you'll have me back on your show after July, I can tell you all about it.
Oh man, you're welcome to be back on anytime you want. We could
You say
definitely
when,
set
and
that
I'll
up.
show up. I'm here for
Perfect. You said after July?
Mhm.
All right, I got you. I'm gonna mark that in my calendar.
I look
I'll
forward
make
to
sure
telling
towards
you all about it.
perfect,
Maybe I
perfect.
can share some video from it too.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
So you also do a thing called King Kong. So we're gonna step away from the Duke Nukem stuff real quick, but you do King Kong. It's a King Con, not Kong. Sorry.
That's right.
It's a cruise, right? But it's like a convention with cosplay and stuff like that. Can you fill us in a little bit more on that?
Sure. I have enjoyed being a guest at conventions for many years, but it occurred to me 4, 5, 6 years ago that, what the fans who I really enjoy meeting, I feel kind of sad for them. They get to come up to the autograph table, and for 2 or 3 minutes, I'll talk to them and sign autographs, and we say hi and shake hands or hug or whatever. And that's the extent of their interaction with me or with any of the celebrities who are signing autographs. That's the extent. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if there were a convention where they could spend more time? And I need to start my own convention. So I looked into it and I thought, what'd be the best way to spend time with fans? On a vacation, on a cruise ship in the Bahamas. This would be great. I could take them snorkeling and kayaking and jet skiing. And my partner, who's also my manager, she says, that's absolutely brilliant. What do we call it? So the very first year we had a different name. It was called Not Con at Sea, and I didn't care for the name. I wanted it branded to the king. So King Con Cruise just seemed natural. And so I made a deal with Royal Caribbean. They're a really great and gracious cruise line. They do a great job. They're not the party cruise line like Carnival, so nobody's jumping off the damn deck into the ocean and being stupid. It's adults and children together mixed up, but not so many children as Disney cruise lines, right? Nothing wrong with them, but I don't want to hang around with a whole bunch of kids. I want a pool where it's all adults. Royal Caribbean, they do that. So I bring celebrity voice actor guests along every year as my guests, and we do all of those things. We eat dinner with the attendees every single night in the main dining hall. We do go kayaking and snorkeling and climb the rock wall and play laser tag and drunk putt, which is a game I invented, where 30 minutes before playing putt up on the top deck of the cruise ship, we have to stop at a bar on deck 12, and everybody has to do 3 shots in succession real fast, and then go up and play putt drunk, and we give away a trophy to the winner every year. And that's pretty much King Con Cruise. You can check it out online. It's kingconcruise.com. Our next one is coming up in less than a month from right now. And this year, my guests include Wes Johnson, who from the Fallout games and Elder Scrolls, and he's the voice of the Washington Capitals hockey team. Then I've got Patrick Keefe, who is best known as That Gray Gentleman. He's a tabletop gamer expert and a LARP expert. He's going to lead our pirate LARP adventure on Nassau, an actual pirate island in the Bahamas. And I've also got epic voice guy. You know him from the Honest Trailers, John Bailey. So
Okay.
those are guests this year. Last year we had DC Douglas, and we've had Richard Epcar, the Joker. We've had John Patrick Lowry, who's Sniper, and his wife GLaDOS. Imagine GLaDOS. I mean, Ellen McLean, she plays GLaDOS in Portal, right? Imagine the voice of GLaDOS on a megaphone while we're playing laser tag, narrating.
That's awesome.
I mean, we do some great stuff on the cruise. And the best thing about it is at the end of the week, it's a Monday through Friday cruise, the attendees know all of the voice actors personally, and we become friends. So when I see them at conventions in the future, I'll immediately go, Jimmy, how you been, buddy? Bring it in, and we're old friends. And it's turned out to be quite a wonderful experience. I really enjoy doing it.
No, that's awesome. It sounds like a lot of fun. We've yet to be on a cruise ourselves, so that is something we'll definitely have to look into for sure.
I might have to give you a discount on your badge to come along there.
There you go. And I used to work for Costco Travel, so it'd be like booking people's cruises and stuff, and you
There
would
you
see
go.
all the fun stuff. And I'm like, we have to definitely hit a cruise. Let's not go somewhere on like a plane. Let's just mix it up and try something different. So
Sure. And we go to
no,
the
that's not.
Bahamas every year. It's wonderful there.
And you said they could find all that info on kingcon.com, which I'll put down in the description below.
Almost. You have
Oh,
to add the
sorry.
cruise to it. It's kingconcruise.com.
kingconcruise.com
Exactly.
will be down in the description below.
Excellent. Right down there. See it right there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I had heard about it beforehand, by looking at your posting, and it's awesome to be able to get to connect with people that you get to enjoy in movies, voice acting, video games, so on and so forth.
Sure.
And when setting this up between you and I, there was scheduling conflicts and stuff, and I won't go into too much detail on that, but I like to treat all my guests just like a normal human being, like I told you before, and life happens and things like that. So
yeah, this was hard to
awesome.
bring together. I know. I don't mind if you mention it. I was sick with RSV, which is very hard at somebody at my age with asthma. It really was tough. And then I traveled to a couple of conventions while having severe sciatica adventure, which I'm still experiencing today. This has been a month-long painful event, but you got to keep a positive attitude. I start physical therapy on Monday, so hopefully I'll be feeling much better in the weeks to come.
There you go. Yeah, no, and I like to take into consideration behind the voice, and the celebrity status, if we want to say that, because I know some people don't like to call themselves a celebrity, but you are a human being. Life comes, and those us wrenches sometimes. So
yeah, that's true. Very true.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your patience, Adam. You've been very patient. What did I put you on hold for 2 months to get this done? I'm sorry.
Something like that, but I wasn't keeping track. I was like, you know what? Let me just respect what the man is saying. We're going to make it happen one way or another. So
You're a good man. Thank you.
I appreciate that. So I know we're kind of coming close to the end of our time. I just want to chat with you a little bit more on some Duke Nukem, and we'll just wrap it up, and and just keep in touch. So
absolutely.
If you could bring Duke back for a new adventure, what kind of storyline or gameplay would you like to see?
Wow. Well, I'd like to see Duke doing some international travel, not exactly a spy, but something more international where he's got to save the babes of Europe, from an alien invasion. I think that would be pretty cool. I'm not much of a writer, to be honest with you, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the storyline should be. If I were a writer and had more creative ideas in that area, I'd certainly throw them out there. But I'll leave that to the experts who do the writing. I'll stick to the acting.
There you go. Do you know any kind of Spanish or anything like that? I could see Duke going into like Mexico and really, bringing the Americanization of it all and trying to, hone in on some Spanish and try to win the babes over. But
that would be fun. I did record Duke Nukem in Spanish once for these guys who came to a con and said, we'd love to hear Duke in Spanish. So I have this bit that I like to play for them where I had a coach teach me exactly how to do the right lines in Spanish. And I play it at conventions. People get a big kick out of it.
Okay. So it's not anything you said, right? It's just more like...
Well, no, I did it in the Duke voice. I spoke Spanish in the Duke voice. I can't remember exactly how the lines go, and I wouldn't want to flub them right now live. That would make me look bad. But I'll tell you what, next time we're on, I'll have it ready to play for you.
There you go. Okay. Did you have any input or influence on the development of Duke Nukem's character beyond the voice?
No. That's
just the voice.
Yeah, that's not the voice actor's part.
Okay.
People ask me all the time, too, hey, when there's going to be a new game? Tell them to make another game. Man, I can't tell anybody to do anything except turn my mic on louder or something,
Gotcha. If you could give Duke any new catchphrase, because I see your TikTok, please follow Jon St. John on TikTok. You'll hear all of the amazing stuff he says.
Oh, you like the Duppet, don't you? You like the Duppet.
Yes.
He's here in the room with me, by the way.
Oh, do you have him?
Yeah, hold on a second. I'll grab it. bring him over so he can say hi to you. Come here, Duppet. No, don't fight me on this, dude. Come on, get over. Let go of me. Don't touch me there. You can't put your hand up there like that. Just chill out. My God, he's so picky. Oh, and look at your costume's falling apart too. What do you expect, asshole? He's not very nice to me. Yeah, this is the Duppet. I commissioned a company in Hollywood to create him a few years back
awesome.
so that I could make the Duppet videos that you see on TikTok. And so, your face, your ass, what's the difference?
Oh man. If you could give Duke any new catchphrases, what would it be? Like anything off the top of your head, even right now that you would come up with?
Don't look at me. God, I don't know. Again, I'm not the writer. But what would
What's
you want to
something
hear
Jon
the
St.
Duppet
John?
say? What's that?
Oh, I'll say what is something that even Jon St. John uses in his normal life?
Oh, what do I say?
I
I
kind of
don't have
put
any
you on the spot.
catchphrases of my own. You really put me on the spot here, Adam. I don't have an answer to that.
Okay, no worries, no worries. If you don't have one, that's okay.
I'm one of those scripted actors. I've got to have it written in front of me, or I blank out.
Gotcha. How about the I'm here to chew bubblegum, kick ass and chew bubblegum. I haven't heard you say that yet, but we'll go and roll with that.
I'm here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of ass.
There you go.
Gum. I mean gum. King, baby.
There you go. One last question.
Yes.
If you could collaborate with any other voice actor or actress on a project, who would your dream co-star be?
Wow. Wow, that's tricky. I mean, I know a lot of them personally. I'd love to work with Billy West, who I know. Also, Billy's great. But I mean, if we're talking about anybody who's been in video games, shoot, Sam Jackson, Mark Hamill, God, because I'm friends with the new Joker. Richard Epcar and I we're friends. But big screen actors, I would get a big kick out of working with any of them who've been involved in video games. That would be great. Feather in my cap, I think. To rub elbows with somebody like that, yeah, that'd be pretty special.
Yeah, no, I think Samuel L. Jackson would be fun to work with.
Absolutely.
I'm a huge Saw fan. So when I seen him in the new Saw movie, or what was
you're
it?
You're gonna be stoked about that.
Oh man, it was different, right?
Yeah.
It was Spiral. So when he was in there with Chris Rock, I was just like, it's different. But man, the guy could say he's done it all pretty much at that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think one also. Oh, what's that?
I said, what a feather in his cap. Yeah.
Yes. I would even say like Keith David. He's.
Oh yeah,
we play a lot of Call of Duty. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, being that the kids that gave the bad review on Duke Nukem Forever. But,
that's right. I like
he's in there
David in Rick and Morty, by the way, as the president.
Oh yeah, he does play that. He does play a lot of presidents, like Saints Row and stuff like that. So
yeah.
But yeah, he plays the Spawn character in Call of Duty, which is kind of cool. So we've been enjoying that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, but man, I thank you for being on, taking some time out of your day, fighting through the pain right now. And do you want to close out the show with anything you want to say?
Please ask your local convention to have me guest if you want to meet me. And by all means, take a look at kingconcruise.com. And I have a new website for just my old radio air checks and commercials that I've done. And if you want to book me for anything from keynote speeches to weddings, I'm an ordained minister and I perform wedding ceremonies. I have several coming up this year. Go to JSJpresents.com. So JSJ for Jon St. John, JSJpresents.com. Have a look at my website. Leave a comment, say hi. That's all.
There you go. We'll put it all down here in the description below. One thing, I did see you posting like shot glasses and stuff. Are you going to eventually put like an online store? I would love to buy some of that merch.
That's a possibility. Right now, I'm only selling my merch at conventions.
Oh boy. Okay.
I may eventually set up an online store. I think that is probably the plan for me and my partner. She helps create a lot of these things with a laser I bought her last year, and so yeah, I think down the road you'll be able to see them. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Well, you heard it from the man himself. Glad that you have been on, and yeah, we'll definitely be in touch for a future episode.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Of course, John.
I just wanted to take a moment and thank the podcast sponsor, StreamYard. Without StreamYard, none of this would be possible. I also want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching this episode, whether you're streaming it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or watching on YouTube. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for many more episodes.